We have some breaking news for you concerning the fake Georgia pro-Trump electors turning on Trump. Republicans who asserted to be Georgia's lawful 2020 presidential electors alleged on Friday that then-President Donald Trump's campaign instructed them to cast contingent votes in the Electoral College ballots, just in case one of Trump's unlikely legal challenges to the results was successful. Attorneys representing the pro-Trump activists said that any schemes by prominent Trump lawyers like John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, and others, to utilize their provisional ballots to rig the 2020 election without any legal support were hatched without their knowledge. Lawyers for 11 of Georgia's 16 shadow electors, who would have been the state's legitimate electors if Trump had won the state, claimed in a 41-page legal filing that the nominee electors did not and could not have had any involvement in or knowledge of any such plan to the extent that these reports are accurate, which the nominee electors have no way of knowing. The electors' lawyers said that attempts to rig the January 6 elections were never communicated to or discussed with the nominee electors at any time. It's an interesting justification from the state GOP leaders and volunteers who signed certificates on December 14, 2020, claiming to be Georgia's legal presidential electors. Although several of his cases had been dismissed by federal and state courts and the election results had been declared nationwide at the time, Trump was still attempting to contest the results in court. Despite this fact, Trump backers insisted that Republican electors gathered in their state capitals on December 14 to cast contingent votes in case any of the pending legal challenges were to be successful. However, no state legislature ever consented. Top Trump lawyers also lobbied for state legislatures to legally accept the pro-Trump elector slates. Trump's legal objections all failed, but Eastman and others persuaded then Vice President Mike Pence to annul the election results on January 6, 2021, when Pence was supposed to preside over Congress and oversee the certification of the results. When they agreed to gather and cast their votes on December 14, the Georgia electors said they were unaware of these intentions. Instead, they said, they were relying on the guidance of their own attorneys and that of the Trump campaign. If the media's claims that certain high-ranking members of the Trump team, Mr. Eastman, Mr. Giuliani, and more, devised a different plan to, among other things, try to persuade Vice President Pence to count these contingent presidential electoral slates as the legitimate elector slates despite the absence of any successful judicial ruling, are true, such plan was reportedly conceived in late December 2020, well after the elector nominees carried out their duties. The account of what happened in December 2021 was included in a court document related to a grand jury inquiry in the Atlanta region. In Fulton County, Georgia, prosecutors have declared the 16 Republican electors targets of their investigation and have attempted to disqualify their lawyers on the grounds of a potential conflict of interest. The 11 GOP electors involved in Friday's legal filing deny acting inappropriately and contend that it makes sense for them to work with the same law firm. The documents, according to the electors, prove Mr. Schaefer was specifically told by the attorneys representing him and members of the Trump campaign that the purpose of executing the provisional Republican electoral ballot on December 14, 2020 was to ensure that there was an available remedy if the judicial challenge to the presidential election was successful. Republicans have pointed out that Democrats in Hawaii tried a similar action in the 1960 election, which resulted in a recount that did change the outcome. On January 6, 1961, Congress counted the Democratic electors' contingent votes, which proved to be legal. However, Hawaii's votes did not determine the election's result that year, and Richard Nixon, the losing candidate, did not make a significant national attempt to change the result.